Hello and welcome to the SMARKETING Show. We're back in the studio, which is awesome, and Cheryl's back on her stack of paper there, so she looks as tall as me. Okay, she's not really off camera. You know, we get asked all the time, what does the term SMARKETING mean? And I picked it up at a conference I spoke at about a year ago, a SMARKETING conference, and the word stands for how organizations now are aligning their sales efforts and their marketing efforts to maximize their velocity. You know, Cheryl, you work with social media with our clients every day. Maybe speak to some of the stats around LinkedIn, because today's topic, are you LinkedIn or linked out, I think is very relevant, especially in today's digital/virtual sales arena.
Well, first of all of our clients have LinkedIn, and not just from a business perspective, but also from an individual perspective. So yeah, LinkedIn is 277%, and this is a HubSpot stat, 277% more effective at lead generation than Facebook and Twitter. And you want to be at the place where you said sales and marketing kind of come together. And that's sort of how I would describe LinkedIn, to be honest. It's sort of a bit of sales and a little bit of marketing all together in one platform. Also,
Cheryl, I call it the watering hole.
there you go, the watering
where all
hole.
of our customers in a B2B setting go. It's a huge digital chamber of commerce meeting. I don't think anybody can refute the fact that the people you want to talk to about your product or service, they're probably on LinkedIn.
And when we do our regular monthly KPI ROI meetings with clients, for the most part, LinkedIn is the platform that has the most engagement for their content.
So, you know, this is our 37th?
Fifth.
35th? Okay,
35th.
sorry. I'm in sales. I always biggie size things. Anyway, I think it was our second show. We talked about LinkedIn to win. Now, this was before the pandemic, and I've got to tell you that, you know, companies, the number one thing we're asked for now at Sell to Win is how can you enable sales enablement? That's the new buzzword. My sales force to go from a traditional sales model to this virtual sales model. And I would argue, politely of course, that LinkedIn is the ultimate starting line in this digital sales transformation movement, and why it's so important for organizations. And I'll talk today, by the way, if you're a sales leader, what to look for if you're an individual out there. I guess the question is simple, like, do you agree that LinkedIn is now your digital business card or not? And if you don't think that's the case, save yourself some time, don't watch the rest of the show.
So for whatever reason, and I have some of my own theories on why, we're having more conversations, or at least I am, with clients on LinkedIn and why it's so important, more so now, to use that platform to get in front of clients and customers. And I think part of the reason is we're about 6 months in to being able to adapt to either a partial or a full remote workforce situation. And I think the realization that this isn't going to be going away anytime soon. So the virtual selling is not an option anymore. And where do you go to get in front of business and decision makers? But LinkedIn, the right people are there. And if you're there and you're creating content that's relevant and valuable, then you will be seen and be heard, and hopefully, you know, generate a lot of qualified leads.
So, you know, if you're watching at this point, after my last, you know, you can leave if you don't believe. Look, before the pandemic, the stat was that 49% of B2B buyers would look at the seller's profile as part of their valuation/approval process, okay? I think that number's up. If you're a traditional seller, look, you and I used to walk in the door physically, that's gone. Trade shows, gone. All those things that include physical. So what we're seeing is that salespeople now, it's still the perfect window to get up and into LinkedIn. And a lot of the sales forces we work with, and I'm generalizing here, are 70% male, 27 to 35 years old, and they're coming off, these are millennials or Gen Zs, and they're coming off Snapchat, Instagram, they can drive TikTok, but put them in the cockpit of driving LinkedIn, and they don't know where the dials are. And so we've created this thing called the 30-day LinkedIn Bootcamp. We'll pass our 2,000th graduate this month, by the way, in 2020. And I just think if you're a sales or you're a salesperson or a sales leader, it has to be front and center right now as we push towards Q4.
So the etiquette on LinkedIn is obviously very different than it would be on Snapchat or TikTok or any of those platforms. So what can people expect on the 30-day bootcamp?
Okay, so we created the bootcamp since the pandemic started because people were fumbling, they didn't know what to do, and you know, we think that the bootcamp basically solves the basic problem of, number one, how do I set up my profile properly, okay? The big shift we make is from job resume, you claiming, you know, I'm the top overachiever, I drive this profitability, which scares customers away, to a customer resume, okay? In other words, why would someone want to engage with you? Types of clients you work with, the problems you solve, solutions you provide, business outcomes you can deliver. And that's the first shift to get people lined up. But then what I find, Cheryl, is they don't know how to drive, And if they don't know something in general, we're all that way, we go away from it. So the boot camp is set up with 5 video modules. First module is make sure your profile is all set up. Number 2, we talk about how to expand your network. Now you mentioned there's a difference between etiquette, we'll call it on Snapchat versus LinkedIn. I would also argue that a lot of people mistake a prospecting email being also used on LinkedIn. And you've seen them, right? 3 paragraphs of the call to action. It looks like an email. That's not the etiquette. And I go back to that Chamber of Commerce analogy. I wouldn't walk up to you at a Chamber of Commerce and go, hey, Cheryl, I'm Rick Lambert. I'm the #1 business-to-business sales performance coach. And what we do is, you'd be gone, right? She leaves anyway, whatever I say to her. But I'm just saying that I think #1, so profile, build, expand your network. Pro tips we give them, like basically if you made an error, how do you correct it on a post? These are things that people are afraid of. Then we walk into basically prospecting on LinkedIn, and our last module is traditional prospecting, email and phone, matched with social. So they get 5 video modules. They're about 15 minutes each. Then each week over this 30 days, they get 3 one-minute videos from yours truly. And we talk about tactical things. At the end of the month, people can ride the bicycle, and we've seen dramatic, measurable results, not just in terms of actual sales, but the activities that will spin forward into Q4.
Because that's what LinkedIn is about, is the activities that are actually happening on the platform itself. And yes, of course, you want to try to drive some kind of result at the end of it. So what are some of the top performers on LinkedIn doing? Well, they're obviously posting on a regular basis. They have an aligned profile, which I know is part of the 30-day boot camp. They're also engaging and participating in important conversations that are happening that are industry related. So you're not necessarily positioning yourself as a subject matter expert or an influencer necessarily, but you just want to be a part of it. And you also want to follow your customers, and you want to comment and like on their content as much as possible, plus your competition, really.
Cheryl just mentioned something there, okay? At a base level, you as a sales professional, do you think it's a good idea for me to go like this? Hey, Cheryl, I really like the way you did your hair today. How does that make Cheryl feel? Hopefully good, okay? If you commented on a customer's post and said, hey, Jim, that's a great point you made right there. Let's say it's a prospect. Don't you think that would help you formulate that digital relationship, all those kinds of good things? And I'm not talking about in a cheesy way, but in a genuine way. This is our new hybrid world, right? So activities, Cheryl, we suggest 3 to 5 posts or shares. Now here's something too, by the way, in our boot camp, we get everybody pedaling the bike, and there's inspection points. So let's say you set up your profile, but if you're not pedaling the bike, we're on to you too, because we want people to experience what this platform can really do for them. And then the other gate we have is we say, look, you should be making 30 net new connections each week, okay, each week. And we give you the template basically to help someone connect with you, because people make the mistake, I think, a lot of times, that introduction thing. Your goal is to have them connect, not to book an appointment. That's too aggressive at that, that Chamber of Commerce meeting.
And there's people that are doing that, trust me.
Oh,
Every single day in my in-mail, I get at least 3 to 5. It's about building the relationship. It's not about telling people what you're doing or talking about your product or service. It really is, like you said, a virtual Chamber of Commerce meeting. So if people want to get more information about how they can register for this, where do they go?
Where do they go? Selltowin.com. And look, we've had over 2,000 people. We've had 100% say, yes, this is recommended. And I would just ask you leaving, if you're a sales leader or you're a sales professional and you want to kind of step it up for Q4 and you understand this digital thing is here to stay, here's a couple measurement points you could do as a sales leader. Number 1, look at your sales rep profiles and ask yourself honestly, okay, does the picture in the back of Jimmy's profile go with Susan's, whatever she's got going on? You need to look like a team. Number 2, take a look at the amount of posts your reps are doing. I mentioned 3 to 5 a week. Now, they don't have to come up with the content. They just share the company content. You're paying some marketing firm to create. And then I think you can start to measure things like engagement, like shares from the customer. There's lots of ways to measure this, but in short, in 30 days, and at 149 a head, which we roll it out at, I don't know pound for pound what else you could do to, again, cross the starting line for Q4 and sell to win in a virtual world.
I'm LinkedIn. You're LinkedIn. Are you LinkedIn? You can find out more at selltowin.com. Thank you. That was great.
Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah.
And if you're not following Cheryl or I on LinkedIn to see how maybe not to do it or do it, check out our profiles. Thanks very much for joining us today.
We'll see you next week, everybody.